Welcome, everybody, to another glorious episode of the Put on Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with my co-host, Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day on here in Southern California. A little bit warmer tonight than last couple of nights. It was a little chilly this morning when I woke up, went to the gym. 5:30 a.m. I was like, I want to go back in my bed, but nonetheless, I made it anyway. Ryan, how you doing today?
Doing good. Had low 70s weather up here in Southern California, up in the Ventura County area today. So it was good. Get out of the 50s, get back into the 70s.
Yeah, we have to do that. Got to do that immediately. RTPOW podcast is my Twitter handle, and Ryan's is RHOLM22 there as well. So Paris, Texas, London, England, Seattle, Washington, Denver, Colorado, and Butte, Montana are all listening to the Put on Waivers podcast or watching us on YouTube. We appreciate that. And two cities. I get like a end of the year report from the podcast people who put the feeds out, and two cities who couldn't be too different are the high had the most downloads. Southington, Connecticut, and Los Angeles, California had our most downloads for our podcast, which is like weird, but it's funny, but it's kind of funny. But LA coming through. I know a lot of Raider fans out in LA, and then Southington, I'm a big Italian area. I got some friends out there. I think I had that many friends out there, but but they listen to the Put on Waivers podcast as well. You can catch Ryan here, and you also catch Ryan on Full Press Raiders podcast. And then this week I got approached to start doing some writing, so I am writing NFL stories on Sports Time HQ. As a website is called Sports Time HQ, so check that website out. The first story I did was called Allegiant Was Built for This, so kind of a story of Mark Davis and this stadium being built for this moment here, where the Raiders have an opportunity to go to playoffs and put us in a position on this show where we actually have to do a playoff edition of the Put on the Raiders podcast, hopefully next week. But we'll start here. To the injury list. Anything stand out to you as far as that goes? I know you mentioned something about Corey Lindsey.
Yeah, he didn't practice today. I don't remember what the injury was off the top of my head, but if the Chargers are missing their center, gives an advantage to the Raiders on the interior with that defensive front with Thomas, Phylon, who's been playing well, and Jefferson on the inside.
So it looks like a lot of full participants in there. Drew Tranquil was limited. And then you mentioned Lindsey, it's a back injury. So for Lindsey, so as far as that goes, a lot of people on the Raiders list, but a lot of them are full participants. So you don't have to worry about that. As far as that goes, Hankins, it has a back as well. And then we have
I think the funniest one was Nick Martin rest. Like, I don't know what he's been doing all year. I don't know why he needs to stay off.
Listen, backing up, Andre James Andre James has definitely gotten a lot better. Watching the All 22, I definitely appreciated his progress. He was one of the Raiders under fire earlier in the season, and he's definitely and against a really good front in Indianapolis. So a couple of news and notes around the NFL before we jump into your questions here on the Put on Raiders podcast. 858-299-5592. I guess Jerry Worlds is going to be offering up his place. How gracious of Jerry Jones to offer his place for the Super Bowl just in case we can't have it in Los Angeles.
Yeah, Jerry's looking to make a little extra money in February, and he's kind of hoping his Cowboys find a way to get there. I think it's going to be still in LA. I don't see them moving it. Kroenke paid way too much money. We're too close to the Super Bowl. I think they're just putting a little pressure on LA County with the mask mandate that's now been extended to February 15th. I don't think they're going to move the Super Bowl because there's an indoor mask mandate. It's going to have to be something much bigger than that. The only way I see them moving it is if LA County has a capacity restriction where they say 25 or 50%. Then I could see the NFL making a decision. But until they mess with the capacity in the stadium, I don't think masks are going to get in the way of the Super Bowl.
And I also think that, I think somebody sent me an article one time about the Super Bowl between the Panthers and the Broncos in Santa Clara, and that it was like 3 or 4 years later, and they were still reaping the benefits of that revenue. LA doesn't. money talks, and I think unless it's just like a complete mess, I can't see Kroenke giving that up. I mean, he built that stadium for a reason, and he wants Super Bowl, especially if his team is in it. I mean, it's a distinct possibility that the Rams could be in it as well. Another thing I saw was that the teams can lose picks for unprofessional prospect interviews. So I think, I mean, there have been some inappropriate, there been some kind of over the line questions back in the day. I think Des Bryant got one, got a couple back in the
Yeah,
day as
about his
well
mom.
about
Yeah,
his mother. So we had those, and then the Wonderlic test is no longer, right. It's been scrapped. So from what I read from NFL.com,
yeah.
so
I think they
interesting
got rid of
there.
that within the last couple of years.
Yeah, I
So
will. That's what I said today. So I'm just going by what I said today. So that's fine. I think that's pretty much it as far as that goes. Some news and notes. Let's just hit up on some of these questions before we get into the game. Cindy from the 858. Biggest disappointment on offense
okay.
for the Raiders.
Interesting. We're
Yeah.
getting that question with a playoff game on the line, but we'll answer for the biggest disappointment in my mind. At this point, it's clearly I'm going to go a tie between Brian Edwards and Josh Jacobs.
Mhm.
Jacobs mainly because the injuries. He has 100-yard game. He hasn't been able to post every week and play. He hasn't been able to stay in games. And then Brian Edwards, just hasn't produced since he was pretty good early the first couple of weeks. 4 for 80, 3 for 90, some big plays down the field. That's all but evaporated at this
Yeah.
point. He's losing snaps at this point. So I'm not down on Brian Edwards. I think he can still be a solid starting receiver in this league, given the right opportunity and the right offense. It's just not his time right now.
Yeah. So to see that it's something that happens in the future with a new head coach or with the same head coach, as far as that goes, I totally agree. I think I keep going back to the how excited I was about him joining the Raiders and looking at that South Carolina tape. I'm just like, oh man, this is the perfect guy for this offense, but I guess not. Right. At least not right now. James from the 718. Why do they get off to such slow starts at home? I don't know. And I think that I'm not sure why that happens so much that it seems like they just are so much better on the road than they are at home, just overall. I'm not sure what it is about Derek. If he still seems like he's like, it takes him a while to get like lathered up and get going. Every home game, it seems like that happens. That can't happen this week. So I know that's something that they have to stop doing. He has to be able to settle down and really get the troops in line. And I think, and we'll talk about it when we break it down. It has to be a way where they can kind of simulate what the end of halves or end of games are for Derek, because it seems like he likes a little bit of quicker pace sometimes. That's probably why he does score points at the end of games and at the end of halves. So we'll see what happens there. What are your thoughts about why the Raiders start off so slow in these home games?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a multitude of things. One, I think other teams get excited coming into Vegas for the first time. Maybe the other teams are a little amped up. It could be, Derek does have a history in his career from coming out a little too pumped up and missing high with some throws. Not saying that's been the case this year, but throughout his career, that's been an issue. And just, maybe trying to establish the run a little early in these games where they haven't been able to run the ball up until the last couple of weeks. And then penalties. I think penalties have killed a lot of drives early in games. So I just think it's a combination of all of those events,
Yeah.
and something that's easily fixable. It's something they could come out and put up 14 in the first quarter on Sunday, and then we're not talking about this anymore.
Yeah, I mean, once they do, I mean, if they could do that, that would be, there'd be a long way to getting them into the playoffs in that situation there, because they really need to get things going early in this ball game, unlike the last time they played the Chargers. Let's see here. How real is the Harbaugh stuff? To me, it's not. I just feel like you talked about it on Twitter. It just feel like it's just the agent's working it. What was it? It was Andrew Brandt said the same thing. Like the agent is trying to do what he can to kind of get as much money out of Michigan as humanly possible. They are a top 5 team. They did just lose their D-line coach to Lincoln Riley, so we'll see what happens there. But they are a team that is now, with Ohio State being down a little bit, this is where Michigan can come right in and kind of take heed here and take over the Big 12.
Yeah, the more this goes on, though, the more where there's smoke, there's fire. So, we didn't see Harbaugh come out in the last 2 days and basically say, no, I'm staying in Michigan. So that's
Mm.
kind of perplexing. Um, there is a tie here, obviously, with the Raiders, with the West Coast. Vegas is still technically West Coast, I guess, if you want to think about it when you're Michigan. Harbaugh does have something to prove in the NFL. And if you think about it, the more these college football reporters are coming out saying this is real, what else can Jim Harbaugh do at Michigan? I don't think he's ever going to win a national title, not in the next 5 or 10 years. They're not going to have the same athletes that you have at Georgia and Alabama and LSU if they ever come back, USC. So he's got to the Final Four. It didn't go well. He has an opportunity here. Maybe Mark Davis does give him a little bit of money. Maybe he does give him control. Maybe him and Fangio want to get back together and figure it out. My only concern here is he took a $4 million pay cut from Michigan last year. So we went from $8 million to $4 million. This is an agent play. The agent's trying to get Mel Tucker just got 10 years and $95 million in Michigan State. He doesn't have near the resume Jim Harbaugh does. So Harbaugh may be angling for, $10 to $12 million. And if Michigan just says, no, we're not paying that, I could easily see him leaving. But like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire. My other concern here is the Raiders still have to comply with the Rooney Rule. Even if they want to hire Harbaugh, they still have to interview 2 minority candidates from externally. There's no more interviewing Winston Moss, who's on your staff, and saying, okay, we complied. They have to interview
Teddy
2.
Rubisky.
Yeah, it's got to be 2 external with 1 in person. So 2 Zooms. One of those guys has to come in person. This is still going to be a 2 or 3 week process once the season ends. Is Harbaugh just going to sit there and wait? And then if the Raiders do move forward and do hire Harbaugh, there's going to be backlash from the media, just like there was when he hired Gruden, saying Bernie Rose and sham. They knew who they wanted to hire. So I don't know. The longer this goes on with Harbaugh not coming out and squashing those rumors, I think there are some legs here, and we'll see what happens.
So I just feel like he's also a guy who is kind of a little bit in the mold of Parcells. They're going to come in hot and heavy. And they come in hot and heavy. They transfer everything. Everything gets really. This is not a long play for him. Like he usually burns out his welcome, like about
4 to 5 years.
The 4 to 5 years. But if you get 13-3, 11-4, 12-4, the 3 years in a row that they got with the 49ers, and then he ended his career at 8-8. That's 4 years of never sniffing a losing season. That's something that you got to think about as well. Fangio, Fangio, the head coach, Fangio, the defensive coordinator. I'm not in love with Fangio as a coordinator. But if they get the pieces and maybe some of the pieces are already there and they got to go out there and get some more, we'll see what happens there. I still think it's, we'll see. We'll see. I still think I still think he's going to come back. I still think he's going to go back to Michigan, but we'll see what happens is there. And maybe we're not as welcome in Michigan. Maybe that's what he wants to do. Is like maybe that's his. He's run his course out there in Michigan for him now.
I would sign up for Fangio right now. I still think he's an elite defensive coordinator. That Denver defense is like 3rd in the league in scoring. They give up 17 or 18 points a game. They get a ton of turnovers. They play a man match, mix of cover 7, kind of a modern defense. They can match up to all kinds of offenses, and they get turnovers. As good as Gus Bradley's defense has been, and it's been light years better than anything we've seen with the Raiders in a long time. They don't get a ton of sacks. They don't get a lot of turnovers. It's maybe a first down and then a punt. They haven't really created a lot of field position for this Raiders offense. They have played well over the last 4 to 5 weeks, but Fangio's defense is in the top 5 in the league. Whereas, Gus Bradley, they're probably right around 20 to 23, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Will be an interesting quarterback room with Derek and Harbaugh and Jim. That'd be good.
And that's the other thing.
Yeah.
This roster has a chance to make the playoffs, and Harbaugh, if he comes back, Derek Carr's better than Alex Smith or Colin Kaepernick. He's gonna have the best quarterback he's had in the NFL. He's gonna want to at least keep him for a year and see what he has.
Yeah, no question about it. King wants to know what the middle 8 is. The last four minutes of the first half and the first 4 of the second half. If you read Gridiron Giants, I believe, that's a Bill Belichick term, middle 8. So that's where I got that from. Kobe from Instagram. Who could be the unsung hero in the next game against the Chargers? I think you had one where we talked about Richard last week. I think you might like Richard this week again.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Can I do a trio? Can I say this is a
Yeah,
revenge game for ex-Chargers? I'm gonna say Casey Hayward, Darius Philon, Denzel Perryman. Um, those three guys getting a chance to play their old team
yeah,
and knock them out of the playoffs. I expect big games out of all three of those guys.
yeah. That'd be fun.
Let's throw Brandon Faison in there too. Let's go with fourth Charger.
Yeah, right. Listen, I mean, listen, there are, you got Jared Cook over there who used to be a Raider. Like there's definitely some cross matching here as far as roster positions with the Raiders and the Chargers. So that should be interesting to see what happens. I don't know if I have one really. I think I just think the game is really on Derek and whether or not he kind of comes through for the Raiders in this moment, because it's kind of set up for him to kind of have that story where it could be a nice one where his 30s could look much better than his 20s with the Raiders. If this offseason goes the right way, as far as that goes. Let's see here. David D, Instagram. Who are you scared of the most on the Chargers?
This is an easy one for me. It's Keenan Allen. Like covering him over the middle of the field on third downs, on fourth downs. I think the Raiders will match up well on the outside with Mike Williams. I think Brandon Faison's length and having practiced against Mike Williams is going to help there. My concern is who's going to cover Keenan Allen, especially in the cover three defense over the middle of the field. He's going to get matched up on Diablo. He's going to get matched up on Perryman at times. He's going to get Hobbs or Nixon, whoever's playing slot. Those are all advantages for the Chargers. So they're going to have to figure out a way to stop Keenan Allen to have success in this game.
Yeah. For me, it's actually the head coach, because he's so unpredictable and you have no idea what he's going to do. And, you saw the fake punt when we were at the game in Los Angeles. Like, thank God for Hunter Renfrow breaking that up. But he's just going to be, it's going to be even next level in this game. I mean, he might go for a 4th and 4 at his own 30. Like, he just might not want to get the ball back at all, knowing how bad his defense has been. So as far as that goes, that's what really scares me the most about him in this moment. And I'm not sure if our head coach is ready for this moment. I mean, it's a big moment. It's a big moment for him in this game. I did like the fact that he kind of got a feel for the game and knew that it was a good opportunity to go for 2. Go for the 4th down when he was in the red zone, and the Raiders were able to get that car to run for a touchdown. Jake, I like the show, not a Raider fan, but wondering, would you rather be the Eagles or the Colts or the Eagles after the Wentz trade? I'm wearing green on that trade.
I'd rather be the Eagles with Jalen Hurts and 3 first-round picks.
Me too. Yeah.
So I think the Colts have a better roster right now, but the Eagles have a chance to one. They made the playoffs this year, and Jalen Hurts has played a lot better than a lot of people thought he was. He's in his second year, and you got a chance to have. They're going to have 3 first-round picks this year, so I would rather be the Eagles.
Yeah, I'd rather be the Eagles too as well. And I think that, that trade is. I know he didn't practice all week and all this stuff like that. I just didn't. He's athletic. He's kind of reminds me of Jay Cutler in a lot of ways. But like, I just don't love Carson Wentz. But we'll see. We'll see. This playoff run, and I think even this game this week against the Jags could be a big one for them, because, like, you never know when you just never. I mean, the Jags are not good, but the Texans weren't good 2 weeks ago either, and they destroyed the Chargers, who were playing for a playoff spot. So we'll take it from there. 30-second break. We'll be back and we'll break down the Raiders defense against the Chargers offense here on the Put on Raiders podcast.